Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenge of being a man in modern society, especially you've got twins. What the hell that even means. I'm Kane, and joining me are Ryan and Maddie, and we'll get to the twins joke shortly. How are you, boys?
Very well, very well. Feel like I've had just a month. I mean, I've been working, but I've had a lot of holidays in between, lots of travel, been to the Maldives, been to Athens, all these things that you do when you don't have kids, fellas. So lapping it up as we head into 2023.
I think since we caught up last, my little fella got a concussion at school. He's now finished prep for the year. We both had COVID after probably catching it from him. So a lot can happen in a month. Hey, you, Maddie, what's been going on with you?
No trips to the Maldives for me, boys, and no COVID either. But since the last catch up, same thing. We've finished school, all three kids. We did have a little bit of a family trip with some other school families before the Christmas rush came on, and unfortunately, Christmas Day I fell a bit sick and was spent the second half of the day upstairs in bed listening to the family, 40 odd people downstairs having a good time and a bit of cricket across the road, and it was very, very unfortunate, and but I'm okay now, so that's the main thing. So,
was it just a bit of a tummy bug? What was it? Just too many beers too early?
No, so it was just a mild form of gastro, I think. I don't know. Nothing really changed for no food poisoning or anything like that. It was just just a bit of gastro, and then a couple of days later back on the beer.
You didn't get a bucket of prawns from the local quickie mart?
No, I got a hot dog actually.
I love it.
Couldn't have been that.
I was going to say the difference between no kids and kids. Ryan went to the Maldives in the last month. I went to the hospital for my son's concussion. So it's different levels we're talking. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about goals for 2023 and planning towards them. And we all have different plans and different goals and those sort of things. And Ryan, has spent some time in the Maldives, just being able to ruminate and sort of marinate in his plans. And we had a sneak peek at his a very sneak peek at his goal sheet, which was amazing. So maybe you can be first cab off the rank, Ryan, and share some of your goals for 2023. I guess the first thing I should say is I did pick up a good quote, which is the weakest ink is stronger than the strongest mind, which basically means you've got to write down your goals and your ideas because it gives you more of a chance to actually make them happen.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the challenges of especially with lives being crazy busy, and especially those that have families and that. The modern man is what do you want in today's world? It's a very chaotic world, very busy world, lots happening. Arguably, the role of the modern man continues to change as well, from potentially our predecessors, which was pretty simplistic time, I guess. So, I mean, writing them down is something that I do every year now, albeit I don't have kids, so maybe that will change when I do have kids. But I think for me, I've sort of structured it and really looked at areas that I want in my life to be going well. One of which being family, a very important area. Another career, health, adventure, education, and wealth. So looking at sort of 6 different areas and where do they go well. But family being number one, come 2023, we do want to move home. And when I say move home, we're living in London at the moment. In 2 weeks, we move to Barcelona, which will be really cool. Got a few months there. Visas and all going well. We'll have a couple of months in either Spain or Portugal to continue. And then eventually get back home to Australia, get back to Melbourne, get back to family, which will be really good. So that is one of the goals, and I suppose it's a goal because anyone who's done an international move knows that it's not an easy thing. But it really doubles onto the other big thing, which is where we're getting into a few children jokes. 2023, hopefully, grow the family. So this year we got a little dog called Blair, and she's absolutely amazing. And then hopefully next year we will grow the family and have children.
Get another dog?
Get another dog, yeah. I mean, that would be much easier, certainly. But no, so part of the reason of going back home is to, yeah, hopefully grow the family, have a few little rugrats. And if I do get my wish, I would love to get twins, because then we can be two and done and not have to worry about it again. But as you guys have children, you think that's a bit crazy.
That is an interesting plan, an interesting super stretch goal. I recommend watching the film Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. That pretty much sums up what twins would be like, just madness.
Yeah,
You've got 3 kids. There's no economy of scale with 3, are there?
No, not at all. I would actually, if I could go back and have twins, Ryan paints a nice picture of and a good argument. Get it out of the way. If you can get twins off the bat, and a bonus if they're, a boy and a girl, then you were done. Don't often get to see Dr. Snip and happy days.
Dr. Snip.
Obviously, we can't control any of this, but yeah, I mean, I figure because no different. You're walking into a world of pain anyway. Might as well not have, a couple of years and then somebody starts sleeping and then you got to go through it all again. Just walk into it. So highly, highly unlikely. Twins do not run in either of our families, but you never know. You gotta wish for these things. But I suppose building out from that, then obviously a lot of things.
Sorry to jump in there, Ryan. It was a 250 to 1 shot. So the 1 in 250 chance of a natural pregnancy will result in twins. So you got a 1 in 250 shot. That's not that crazy.
That's better than I thought. 1 in 250. That is a bit better than I thought. So I'll take that. But you never know. Like you can't plan any of these things. So we'll get home. Another one is to finish. We're building a house over in Perth for my mum. So that's being built at the moment, and obviously want to finish that and move in there, and happy days. And then really just looking at career. So we've got a business back in Australia, working a business portfolio role here. So really career is all about getting back home, building, growing these activities, potentially launching a new one, all going well. So just focusing on how do we impact and how do I grow as a leader, and then obviously juggle that with the growing family. And then health, I'm halfway through a 3-day fast at the moment.
3-day fast?
3-day water fast.
How you going?
I'm all right, actually. I'm fine at the moment. It kind of goes up and down, but it sort of makes you worry a bit less about all the food and drink that you have over Christmas, because then you just follow it with a 3-day fast. So sort of even kills it, I guess.
I'm on a 3-hour fast at the moment. I'm struggling.
It's not too bad. I mean, ask me in another couple of hours and I might be on one of those downs and I'm just completely grumpy as shit. But it's not too bad, but it's all part of sort of being a bit healthier, getting, into January, taking a dry January, trimming down a few kilos, and really just keeping up some of probably the good habits that a holiday can give you. You get a bit of motivation and so forth. And then really the rest is all around education, finish Cambridge University and playing the varsity AFL match. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to Barcelona, we're going to Europe, want to speak Spanish, get a bit more travel, kind of a bit of a first 6 months, go a bit crazy on the travel, with the hopeful plan and intent to basically then very much settle down back home. And then as part of streamlining all of that, kind of aligning the money and activities and everything to make it much more simple when we go home, and sort of really start to, I guess, grow some wealth and get some plans for one day a family home. So quite a lot, fairly ambitious.
So six key areas you mentioned earlier. So can you just run through the 6 key areas again?
So family, obviously being number one, and then career, so growing and having a career that you're proud of. Health, being healthy to enjoy it. Adventure, So that's where a lot of the travel comes from. But even within that is things like learning to speak more proficient in Spanish, education, and so growing the mind, and then wealth in terms of the money to fund all of it.
Yeah. And obviously with these goals, you'd have, and you obviously maybe you're not going to disclose them on a podcast that the public listen to, but I guess you'd have ways of measuring these sort of things as well, a lot of them.
Yeah, so a lot of them are measured, and I actually took this from a friend of mine, and she's very high performing in a lot of areas. And she said, set like a target of what you want, and then set like a stretch. So, if you hit your target, great. If you hit your stretch, even better. And then set like a super stretch, which is, if and something that really stretches you out of your comfort zone, something that you are like, it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen. But if a lot of things fell into place and, with a bit of luck and a lot of hard work, you could get that. So I've really sort of structured them like that. In terms of, like, for example, the adventure one, the target's Barcelona, that should happen. As well as climbing Mont Blanc, which I've got booked in this year. The stretch is so I can speak a bit of Spanish, but to be like proficient and fluent in Spanish from a cultural side of things, and go on a safari trip. And then the super stretch is, we have put together, like, if we were to take the first 6 months off, not that we will, but what would be all the places and countries and areas that we'd want to see, put together a list. So the super stretch is effectively going to all of those places, which, we're talking a dozen countries, from Lapland to Egypt to Ireland, Italy, everything in between. So obviously would need a bit of luck to get that one off. But at the end of the day, if I get half that list done, I'm certainly going to be pretty happy.
That makes some sense. They're good key areas as well. Like I think there's overlap in the areas. I've actually put goals down for 2023 because I knew we were doing this podcast. I thought I'd better come with something in my hand. It's just in the last couple of years we've done it. I walk in empty-handed and just ask questions of other people. So I had to spend split time over the last couple of weeks. My wife's been recovering from COVID, and I've been primarily looking after the little fella because she's been quite. So just trying to do my planning over like 20 minutes here, 25 minutes there, 15 minutes there, and try to cobble together something. And I guess I'll go through mine now, Maddie, if you don't mind. I've got a couple of goals in 4 key areas. There's probably more goals which I've written down, which probably they're more sub goals or smaller goals, which make up sort of these as well, maybe a couple of other different areas. But the 4 areas I focus on were relationships, business, health, and fun. Hard to have an adventure with a 6-year-old, but yeah, fun's sort of what I can sort of deal with. So I'll start with relationships. Now I spend a lot of time at home. I spend a lot of time with the little fella when he gets home from school. I don't really want to compromise any of that, but I want also to actually spend fortnightly time with my parents. My dad's just retired; he's almost 70. So I think it'd be really nice to be able to spend more time with them, probably on a fortnightly basis, is something practical and achievable. And similarly, I've spent a lot of time in the last six years working from home. So I also want to have sort of fortnightly lunches with friends. I used to do that all the time when I worked in the city. I'd have lunch with somebody different every day almost, or you talk to somebody different every day, a friend at work. Well, I've not done that for 6 years. So being able to go back and I guess socialize with different people on a fortnightly basis, I think, again, achievable and sort of practical thing I can do, which would lead to a happier lifestyle as well. So it's in the relationship side of things. Business-wise, I want to start one new business in 2023. Not sure what that is yet. Got a couple of ideas, but not exactly sure what that is yet. But I think one business is achievable. I usually have an idea every couple of weeks on something to do. So I think I should be able to get one of them off the ground, albeit it might be linked to my existing business. It might be inside that existing business to some extent, but something new inside there. And also only really want to work from 8:30 a.m. till 3:30 p.m., which is when my little fella goes to school. But I want to spend less time at home as well. because I spend a lot of time at home in the home office, and it just gets really stale. Albeit, even if they're working in a co-working space, going to work at an accounting office, even going to work at a library for some time during the week, I think it's really important to kind of just change that environment I'm working in.
It's really interesting. Like, I think the idea of structuring it around different areas is certainly helpful. And it's funny that you say that, because like one of the things I find interesting is everybody wanted to work from home, I feel. And now I'm certainly, because I'm definitely in a role where I spend more time at home than I do in an office by far. And yeah, much like you, just desperate for that connection to like, so when we do head over to Barcelona, like the first thing I'm going to do is book into a co-working space a couple of days a week, just to get out of the stuffiness.
Yeah, well, I've worked from home for 8 years, so it's been a long time where I've been primarily working from home. And then before the pandemic and before our little fella came along, I'd go into the city more frequently. When he came along, it was probably harder to get in the city. I didn't probably want to go into the city as much or see people. I say see people as much, get out as much. It was very convenient to be home and to be able to, play with him whenever, and he'd come in and sort of bother me, which was never really a bother, but like he would. I think it's just nice to be able to change the environment as well, to have sort of focused time where there's not that sort of, I guess, the familiarity or the, of just being at home and just kind of going, oh, I could do that, but I could also just put on a load of washing, or I could just go and do something else. So, and again, I used to always say to people when people are talking about their lives, I go, the three key things to me are sort of, what you do for work, your relationships, and where you live. They're your three key pillars in your life. And I think I've got my relationships here, I've got business, and I'm really comfortable financially and household wise. So I don't feel I have to focus on that as much. The moment's kind of taking care of itself. So I have the luxury of being able to say, okay, I've got a couple of health goals and a couple of fun goals I want to focus on as well. My health one of them is to become more functionally fit and flexible. I mean, I can run 5Ks in under 25 minutes, like sort of 22 minutes, but that does nothing for me or does nothing for anyone. It's sort of an ego goal. Like I can run fast for 5Ks, where I think I'd like to be more functionally fit and flexible as I'm getting older, being able to ensure that, in 15 or 20 years time, I can still 20 years time might be a bit ambitious, but still get up off the floor really easily and still go for a walk, or still be able to do functional things without having to worry that, oh God, I really struggle to get up off the floor because of my back. So that's one of my health goals. My other one is to maybe more on the mental side, is just to reduce the negative influences around me. I don't have that many negative influences around me, but just complaining and whinging really drags me down. So like when that's around me, I just doesn't interest me having that sort of those negative influences around me. That's probably a harder goal to quantify and measure and reduce, but it is something that I'd like to focus on.
That's awesome, mate. That's sorry, I was just going to say, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
No, go. You go.
My last area is fun, which is simply just to start one new hobby and to sort of take a walk at least 3 times a week with either podcasts or music on, because I love doing that, and I really got into that in 2022, and just to sort of build on that. So it's my fun. I think it's hard to achieve, like start one new hobby. I did a bit of cardio tennis in the last year, which I enjoyed. Maybe it's not quite my thing, but I actually enjoyed playing tennis. I'd never done that before. And then that sort of walk and listen to something which I enjoy sort of 3 times a week for maybe an hour each time. I think it's totally achievable. So I haven't really, I think I've stretched that far, but I think that's, for me, actually putting goals down, which I might actually be able to achieve some of them, is an important first.
That's awesome. And how will you measure those? Are you going to be checking in on yourself every, monthly or annually?
Well, I'll make you guys check in on me now. You can be my accountability buddies, because that's important. Like I'll send them across and then meet monthly and see how we go, which I did for Ryan a couple of years ago. So maybe I can formalise and do a similar sort of thing to see how I'm going, tracking some of these.
Well, we can have like a little check if we're doing these podcasts maybe on a monthly basis or however we do it. If we just spend 1 or 2 minutes just checking in on each other's goals at the start, that might be a bit
good idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. It does mean having goals, though, Matthew. How's your list going? I know at the start of the podcast you're frantically writing things down.
No,
One
no,
of them might
no.
have
I've
been
got coincidentally.
cook barbecue because I forgot barbecue and I had to run to do this podcast.
Coincidentally, I've got six sectors as well. I've got healthiness, wealthiness, family involvement, career advancement, travel, and learning stuff. So
Very
they just
nice.
coincidentally line up with Ryan's 6 as well. But no, just joking. I don't have that at all. I've got a blank piece of paper in front of me that I have been writing things down. So my goal was to set goals. We're going away for a week in January to a beach house where there's little to no reception. And I thought that was going to be a great opportunity just to sit down with Kim and just chat about certain goals that we sort of want to achieve, but then also look internally as well. So some goals as well. But so that's probably more going to be goals around the co-working space we're creating. So boys, if it'll be up and running in a month or two. So if you need a co-working space in Brisbane, I can sort you out there.
My travel times to and from might be a bit far from Melbourne, but otherwise I'd definitely come.
There's always a desk there if you need one, Kane. If you're ever in town. So on that side of things, it's probably going to be more towards the coffee van will come into play next year, given the fact that we're close to finishing off the actual office itself. So we'll plan those goals, like I said, in a week away. But just some sort of goals I've been thinking about over the last day or two that are probably going to be, I guess, I'm looking to sort of achieve in the school holidays. I try to take that time to teach the kids something, a skill or something like that. So, for instance, Sam getting off his training wheels, Eloise tying her shoelaces independently, and things like that. So, I've still got a few weeks, or maybe 4 or 5 weeks to get that going. But we did do a big bike riding session yesterday, and there's a lot of progress there. So, sort of some kid goals there. And then, as well, a goal I'm going to be looking at and focusing on heavily is also a bit like what you said, Kane, with functional fitness. Like you, I can run. I'm going to do a half marathon this year. I'm not going to try and push myself too hard. I just want to get it done. But I really want to maintain sort of a healthy weight range and put on a nice, decent amount of weight. I want to speak to a dietitian, educate myself on what I need to be eating to sort of maintain this weight. So I do tend to fluctuate quite a lot. And especially the marathon training I did last year, I did drop a significant amount of weight. And trying to get that back on is pretty tough. I'm not one that can sit there all day and just eat. So I really need to speak to someone or just do a lot of research about the right foods and things like that. So that's one goal.
Milk 12s, they're not helping with weight gain?
Surprisingly not. Like, I'm smashing those and the Coke Zeros, but it's not really having an effect.
You
I'm in the gym as well. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
You're going to get rid of the Coke Zeros and just go to full Coke.
Full strength Coke, yeah, I think so. I
Empty
shouldn't be
sugar.
dieting on Coke, should I? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what a waste. And Everest Base Camp, I had that goal at the start of last year that to try and save enough money to go in 2023. And a lot of that money sort of went towards this shop that we're doing up. So that's still on the radar as well. Hopefully I can save that for this year to go in 2024. But the other goals around sort of health and family, and career and education, things like that, that'll be more sort of studied out in depth on this family week away. So just a couple of little mini goals there to try and smash out in January. And then the bigger ones I'll research it. Maybe next podcast I can rattle off them to you boys now.
I like the idea of
with a bit of space.
The idea of setting goals around teaching kids some stuff as well. I've got the goals in the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks teaching our little fella about money. We've got the Barefoot Investor Kids book. So we're going to go through that and then teach him about like the notes and not that probably to be teaching about Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff like that. But because fiat currency is dead. So you should teach about crypto, but actually teach you about money. Like this is a $5 note. If you give that to somebody and something costs 50 cents, this is what you should get back. So I reckon that's a great goal, being able to teach your kids something really helpful for them.
Yeah, they're never too young to learn that kind of thing either. We've got that Barefoot Investor book too, and Mia's at an age now where she's wanting to sort of make money and trying to pick up some jobs where she can around the house. Sam, anytime he does a job, is asking for 5 or 10 cents, and I'm trying to educate him. No, there's certain jobs around the house that you just do because you live here. and there's other jobs you can sort of make money on. But yeah, it's funny educating that money. Yeah.
I think that's a good again. It's like it's a good listen. It's a good cross section of different stuff, and you can build on that as you move into 2023. And I can't be critical of anyone's goals. The first time in years I've probably wrote these down. I don't know if I've never written them down because I didn't know what I wanted, or if I was kind of scared to write them down if I couldn't achieve them. I honestly just kind of I've always gone with the flow. Like I've never really been one to sort of goal set. So yeah, I reckon any sort of goals that you put down have been good. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good like reminder in that, I look at 22, I think I got about 2/3 knocked off. And albeit I, do a fair bit, but in terms of the super stretch and that kind of thing. But a number of them have just rolled into 23 because some of them, box time, and hopefully all of this is actually just leading to behavior change, to just enjoying life a little bit more rather than being like, I need to get that and that will somehow bring me upteenth amount of happiness. So I think writing them down, you're already ahead of most people.
Yeah, it's the weakest ink is stronger than the strongest mind. And I'm going to leave you with that today. So that'll wrap it up. Remember to subscribe to Daddy Eats Last on iTunes if you haven't done already. While you're there, please leave a review. Also tell your mates about the podcast, especially if they are. So most of all, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next month for another episode, or should I say serving, of Daddy Eats Last. How's that for a dad joke? Catch you next month.
Bye bye. Bye bye.